Parallel lines and transversal.
That was my son, Wesley. He's pretty cool. All right, our goals are to identify special angle pairs, parallel ends. Oh, we're not going to do that. We're going to find values by applying theorems about parallel lines and transversals. Cool. So we're going to skip straight to parallel lines and transversals. This is a weird word, and we are going to figure out what they are. If two lines do not intersect, then they are either parallel or skew. Skew is a weird word that we don't talk about very much. Skew just means that they aren't parallel, but they will never touch. So they're two lines that are in two different planes and will never intersect. So if you think about a 3D box like that, it would be like this line and that line. Those lines are never going to touch. Those are skew lines, okay? We're not talking about skew lines. We're not talking about them because we're talking about lines in the same plane in this entire lesson, okay? So no separate planes, all the same plane, okay? So on your note page, things that we're going to fill in are, in our definitions, parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. So, for example, JK, line JK, is parallel to line LM. And how we write that, note over here the notation, okay? We write that JK, line JK, remember we don't forget our notation on top, and line LM, but note this notation in the middle. Those two lines up and down, that means parallel, okay? And then I also want you to note these little arrows on the lines now. Those mean parallel. And just like our congruent marks, when we have like a segment and we say, you know, that we've got point A and point B, and then we've got C as a midpoint, so we put in our tick marks. Just like we can double those up, the same thing can happen with parallel lines. We can also put double arrows. Just in case we've got lots of lines going on, we can signify more than one set of parallel lines by adding in more sets of arrows. Okay, on to the next thing. A line that intersects two or more lines in a plane at different points is called a transversal. So in the diagram, line T is a transversal of lines Q and R. Line T forms a total of 8 angles with lines Q and R. These angles and specific pairings of these angles are given special names. Okay, so what they're saying, a transversal is any line that crosses two other lines, okay? So if you've got two lines and then another one goes across them, this one is the transversal. Okay? And when that transversal crosses them, all of a sudden you've got all these angles that form because of its crossing. And with that crossing, you get names of these angle pairs. And that's what we're going to name down here. So we go down to your notes. We're on page 6 in your notes, and there's a lot of stuff to fill in here, okay? So in this, the 4 interior angles that lie in the region between lines Q and R. So these guys right here, these interior. So when we talk interior, we're talking everything between those two lines, okay? Those ones, we call that the interior. Those ones would be angle 4, angle 3, angle 5, and angle 6. That's what we're going to fill in that box, okay? We call those interior angles. It's good to get the idea that those are interior because we're going to start talking about interiors. You need to understand interior means between those lines, okay? Cool. Next, if you understand that those are interior, then you probably understand that the exterior is going to be anything on the outside of those lines. So that means angles 1 Angles 2, angle 8, and angle 7 are your exterior angles. All right. Now that we've got that vocab down, we're going to get into the big time angle pair relationships. The next 4 boxes are the big ones, and the ones that you're going to be tested on, and the ones that you're going to see over and over for the rest of the year. So really important. You can put exclamation marks next to them, okay? Consecutive interior angles. They are interior angles that lie on the same side of transversal T. Okay, so the word consecutive means in a row. Okay, in a row, consecutive. Consecutive interior. So if you were to look at that, interior, we know means interior, and in a row means in a row, so it means on the same side. So that would be angles 4 and angles 5. That would make a set. That would be one set. And then another set, let me get a different color here, would be on the other side. There we go. Angle 3 and angle 6. Those are another set of consecutive interior angles. Okay? So if they ask you which ones are our consecutive interior angles, you would give me them as a pair, 4 and 5 or 3 and 6. All right. On to the next set of angle pair relationships. Alternate interiors. Well, that's just like what it sounds like too. Alternate interior means every other. So if we're still on the interior, alternate means on either side of the transversal. So our first set that we're going to look at is angles 4 and angle 6. That's our first angle pair. And our other would then be, of course, 5 and 3. Angle 5 and angle 3. Those are alternate interior. Okay. And lastly, we've got alternate exterior angles. And those would start exterior, one of them, and then we go all the way to the other side and the alternate side of the transversal, and we get 1 and 7, angle 1 and angle 7. And our other pair would be 8 and 2. There we go. All right. Now we've got all those down. Hopefully they kind of make sense. Hopefully the naming kind of makes sense. Oh, we got one more. Sorry, there's so many slides. Last one, corresponding. Corresponding to me means in the same location. So if I'm looking at this, corresponding to me means in the same location. So if you can with me, picture picking this up and dropping this spot right down here, which ones would kind of be located in the same spot down here? Okay, so I would say this 1 is in the upper left, so this 5 is also in the upper left. So angle 1 and angle 5 are both upper left. Angle 2 and angle 6 are upper right. Angle 3 and angle 7 are lower right. And angle 4 and angle 8 are your lower left. Okay? All in the same location. Those are corresponding angles. Notice very specifically that all of these angle pairs, all of them, there was one angle from the upper set, one angle from the lower set. Every single one of these. All of them. Okay. So let's go down here. Let's look at this classification. Classify the relationships as alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, or consecutive. So let's look. 4 and 5. We look at 4 and 5. Those are in the interior, and they're on alternate sides. Those would be alternate interior. Okay. And 3 and 7. I love highlighting them. It helps. 3 and 7, they're not both in the interior. They're not both on the exterior. So it helps. We're not doing interior or exterior. They are both in the same location. So that's that corresponding. There we go. Now we're looking at 3 and 5. Those are both interior and on the same side. Same side was that consecutive word, consecutive interior. So that's the one that we're writing down. And I'm going to shorten it up. We're going to write consecutive interior there. And then 1 and 8. That one, let's see, those are exterior, outside of the lines, and they're on alternate sides. Alternate exterior. There we go. There's those answers. Now you get to do that. So they've given you a drawing here and some angles, and they want you to classify. Here it's a little bit more tricky because there's lots of transversals going on. They've got D and E, F and G, and they've given you some interesting things. What I want to give you as advice with this is that remember there's only ever one transversal. So if you look at like this and this is the line, you can have one transversal there. And if that's the one transversal, you're only looking at these angles. You have to ignore these ones. Or you can look at this line and you can look at these angles, okay? So you need to be paying attention to which angle or which lines. Only ever look at 3 lines and erase the 4th line from your mind at all times. It might even be that it's not possible to have a relationship between the angles. All right, go ahead and look, pause me. Okay. Did you get these relationships? Check it out.